Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to the Leading Edge Cricket Podcast, a podcast absolutely 100% fueled by cheese and ham toasties and a coffee to go and do big things. Welcome to the podcast. I am Rob. This is Rich. Rich, what a day, what a 5 days, and what a 2 days. You've gone back to back at the test match.
It's been fun, hasn't it? Yeah, excellent. What an unbelievable test match. Yeah, I had no plans to go to this test match until I'd sat on the sofa all day Sunday watching a fabulous day. And then it's like, oh, this is shaping up very nice. So I went on the fourth day and then we saw the ticket just. We'll go into that in a little while. But yeah, went today as well to see one of the most stunning, outrageous innings by an individual in Jonny Bairstow and an England win like not many others. That was sensational. That was different cricket. You don't see test matches like that very often.
You really don't. It was a funny one. So you've been at the test match. I'm down in New Zealand. I fell asleep, I think, when New Zealand were all out. I fell asleep around then, but I had the screen on. So I slept with the screen on, sleeping. And I woke up at 93 for 4 when I think Lee's got out and I saw Stokes coming back out. And then I went to sleep and dreamt that we were about 120 all out. And I woke up at 4:45 this morning, checked the score and saw we won. I was like, this is insane. So then I watched the entirety from the England innings, the entirety of the England innings in about an hour and a half, fast forward in between the balls. I was like, I've got to just soak this in. Like, we are long-standing, hard done by England cricket fans over the last few years. And this is everything this team could be because of its white ball capabilities and all of that. We're just starting to see these special things. And it what a difference a couple of test matches make. This is a team that could do special things.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt, is there? I mean, this mentality straight away with Stokes, Brendan McCullum, obviously Rob Key is the man that identified these people and get them in position. Stokes, there was no other options really, but it was good that they went with him. It was great that he wanted to take this captaincy, and the way him and McCullum have got this team going straight away. Last summer, we were talking about an expanded net or an extended net for Dom Sibley, padding out a draw off 70-odd overs. Forget that. We're done, aren't we? The first test, England chased down 277, won by 5 wickets. Joe Root's unbeaten on 115, as we remember, and Ben Folkes is unbeaten as well. They've got a great win. Today, again, there was no doubt in the mind at the fourth day. We were going for this total. New Zealand got a little bit higher score, let's say, a few more runs than we would have wanted them to, I think. It was at the top end of what you want England chasing. But this team didn't seem fazed by it at all. It was just a case of we're going for it. It would have been interesting to see what would have happened if we'd have lost another wicket. Folkes was dropped just before the end, wasn't he? If we'd have opened up that 4-man tail, which it is, I don't think we can be any more polite about it. That is a long tail. But they're in the team to bowl them out, and the bowlers did the job in both innings. I think, it's been a run fest, and we'll dig into it all shortly. But
it's such a funny game. So many runs, mate. The only thing that probably stacks up with that many runs is the amount of drop catches. I think there was 12 drop catches in this game, and it felt like both teams, like England, sure, haven't been a great fielding team for a while, but they did drop catches. But the Blackcaps, you put the Blackcaps down as a team that do basics really well in Test cricket, in any format of cricket, and you're in for a real battle. Here, I didn't see that. I didn't see the Blackcaps team that was World Test champions. I saw a team that was full of mistakes, full of errors, full of selection errors as well. I'm sure they would have loved to have Ajaz Patel available to bowl for long periods for them here. They just didn't quite feel the Blackcaps sort of team that you expect. Plus, hard done by losing Kyle Jamieson as well and being the team down halfway through the game.
Yeah, selection was a bit strange, wasn't it? I mean, Jamieson is a huge loss, wasn't he? He bats at 8. He's obviously offers something different. On the fifth and final day, as we've just seen today, you're seeing Matt Henry digging the ball in short. It's not his job, is it? That is Jamieson's job. It's Wagner's job, but Wagner's carrying drinks at the minute. We did see Henry Nicholls come back in, who would have played in the first test ahead of Daryl Mitchell. Good job, Henry Mitchell missed that first test, isn't it? Daryl Mitchell's done pretty well. Nicholls is in. Mitchell retained his place, and Bracewell also came in for the injured Grandham. His season, or should I say, his series has finished, hasn't it? So selection going in with the 4 seamers, was that the right thing to do? First things first. Before we focus on England, we can pick all we want about New Zealand, but was that the right decision? In hindsight,
I don't feel like it was. I feel like if you're thinking that it might be a run fest. The bowler, the seam bowler you always bring in is Neil Wagner, who gives you hard yards, picks up wickets in the middle overs.
Different angle.
Yeah, different angle, different technique, but just gets it done. Just gets it done time and time again. And Trent Bridge, it swings miles. Spinners do all right at Trent Bridge over the last 4 or 5 years. The average about 30 as opposed to Lords where the average 44. So I don't quite feel they got the selection right. Plus, they were kind of backed into a corner. They'd lost Colin de Grandhomme, who was that extra seamer for them, and then they lost Jamieson through the game. And you put a whole bunch of yards on people like Southey, who did not have a great test match by his standards. Matt Henry, who you said bowling short. Matt Henry took 80-odd wickets for Kent a few years ago by pitching it up, swinging it around, nipping it around. He got 7 for against South Africa and rolled them over on day one of a test down here in the summer. And Trent Boult was amazing in this test. Trent Boult, Jimmy Anderson, 2 best seam bowlers on display by an absolute country mile. But Trent Boult comes over from the IPL from bowling 2 over spells, and then 1 here and 1 there, and then goes and bowls 33.3 overs in 1 innings and 16 in the next, with a smile on his face, scoring some runs down the order. It's like, whoever said you need red ball preparation to be ready to play red ball cricket, test cricket? Trent Boult's just kind of throwing that out the window, and he's like, I'm happy-go-lucky. I'm just going to turn up and bowl and swing it around and take some wickets.
Some people are built differently, aren't they? Certain Jonny Bairstow didn't have a lot of red ball preparation, did he? But we'll get on to what he achieved today in a little while. But go on, Rob.
Let's roll through it then, mate, because it's a really interesting test match. Like, as you break it down through the days, through the innings, there is a lot going on. England win the test and bowl first. New Zealand would have bowled first as well, and New Zealand go forth, conquer, score 550, and we did tweets and polls all the way throughout, and day one, 99% of people, New Zealand have absolutely bossed it, and come the end of day 2, New Zealand are still on top. So really good batting performance from the Blackcaps, who we've said have probably been a little weak around the top of the order lately.
Yeah, and you can't criticise this New Zealand team at all. I would have been delighted with a draw probably halfway through the second day. They get off to a fly, don't they? 84 for 1. England then strike twice, don't they? Latham goes very, very soon after Will Young goes. So, no wickets, and then suddenly 2 wickets in around the 20th, 21st overs. But this New Zealand team just kept going. It seemed like it was going to be a track initially where, although you could score quite quickly, anything full you can put away, you're not in, because that's what the top 4 said. But then Daryl Mitchell and Blundell came together again, and all they seem to want to do is bat together. And he goes and hits another 190, Daryl Mitchell. Yes, to give chances. Yes, England's fielding drop catches. We were perfect in the first test, and we were not perfect in this test. There are some comments about it's not an easy ground to take catches on for some reason at Trent Bridge. I will defer to anybody that says that, I'm sure, if they've played there. But it wasn't good enough for either side in the field, was it? There was too many opportunities to put down. Yeah. But that always gave me the thought that actually, it's not quite as good a batting deck. It is a good batting deck, but it's not quite as good as the 1,000 runs combined in the first innings suggested. But Mitchell 190 and Blundell 106 in that epic stand again was something else, wasn't it? And then Bracewell counter-attacked 49 in pretty sharpish time as well before the tail. Trent Boult, just want to quickly mention, he said he scored some runs. Trent Boult loves Trent Bridge, and he also now holds a record for the most runs by a number 11 in Test match history. First innings, he gets to 16, does a big fist pump, doesn't he, before the end of the innings, and then in the second innings, he finally does break it. So he's a record holder. He's happy now. I'm sure he doesn't care about the test outcome. He's just happy he's the most runs by number 11.
Happy-go-lucky sort of guy, mate. Daryl Mitchell's rise is absolutely insane, isn't it? He's such a late bloomer into Test cricket, and he's gone and put up these sorts of numbers. Obviously, we talked last test. He did it in the last test, but he also did it in the T20 World Cup final as a makeshift opener. But he's 31 years old, Rich. His first-class record, he averages 39.85. So you probably shouldn't be too kind of going, oh, yeah, he's coming to Test cricket, he's done all right. But he never looked like he was ready to be a Test match top 6. I always said he was like a 6 or 7, and de Grandhomme is a 6 or 7 at best. One of the greatest nicknames in cricket. Big, tall guy. I think his dad's actually the England Rugby Union forwards coach at the moment. But his name's Moose. Like, you talk about a big guy hitting a long ball, you call someone Moose, and that's kind of what he's come away with, and he's performing superbly. What did you make of Michael Bracewell? in his performance, because it's kind of it's not a little bit left field, but it is a little bit left field in coming in. And obviously injuries have given him this opportunity. They called up Hamish Rutherford into the squad, who's a ex-Test match player, scored 180 against England many moons ago. But they went with Bracewell, wicket keeper. They like his bowling. If you're going to play in this team, you're going to have to bowl. But I quite like the way he played his game. I thought he exuded ultra confidence for a Test match debut.
Yeah, he knows his game, doesn't he? He's not young. Is he 31 now? I think that's what he is, around that sort of age anyway. But he knows his game inside out. He came in, looked positive, looked like he had a good intent with the bat. A perfectly fine Test debut for me. He bowled well in the first innings as well. He got Stokes, didn't he? And he offered a bit of a threat. So yeah, I think he'll be very content. I think he'll be disappointed with the result, obviously, and maybe the performance in the second innings bowling wise. But he looked pretty good. He looked at home. Just going back on Daryl Mitchell, I really like the way Daryl Mitchell was going about his business. I love the fact that he was hitting Jimmy Anderson over the top. I love that he was being positive. I love that he was pumping Jack Leach down the ground. It was almost like people were looking at him and going, he can't keep doing that. Who does he think he is? And he kept doing it. And he looked fantastic. He took his chances and he just rolled with it, didn't he? Ultra impressive. We have that group think sometimes, don't we, where Daryl Mitchell, he's not quite good enough. He's not quite good enough. Well, has he had the right run? Has he had the right run in the right conditions at the right time? Possibly not. Well, look what he's done in 2 Test matches now, back-to-back hundreds and a big 100 to boot, and an unbeaten in the second innings, which we'll get to. So he's had a super
against
test
a good
as well.
bowling attack as well.
Really good, absolutely.
What did you make of the England bowling?
Yeah, it's
they've got 500, right? But there's still positives you can take out of it, because the ball wasn't doing loads for a huge majority of time, right?
Yeah, I mean, nobody's been completely grabbed hold of and been slashed all over, have they? Potts has gone for the most in the first innings at 4.13, just ahead of Broad. Broady only got his 2 wickets right near the end, and Potts was the last wicket, I believe, in the first innings. Jimmy bowled very well. I mean, with 62 off 27 overs, just 3 wickets. He's just insanely good, isn't he? It's as simple as that. Stokes was looking good when he's not bowling no balls, 6 of them in the first innings. And he just offers something different, doesn't he? He'll just come in and try and break a partnership. If we'd have took a chances, who knows? That might have been a 350 score from New Zealand, but ifs, buts, whatever, it wasn't. It was 5-5-3. It was 145 overs, a long, long time in the field. Looked like New Zealand's game. Overall, I was quite impressed. Jack Leach, I think we need to talk about Jack Leach more in the second innings. But Jack Leach, this was a huge Test match for him. The squad was selected for England for the first and second Test. Obviously, Matt Parkinson played in the first Test. The only change, if you want to call it that, for the second Test for England was Leach coming back in, although Leach did obviously start the last Test match before concussion ruled him out. So this is huge. I don't know what they're going to be thinking about Jack Leach. I don't know if he gets the third Test or not, but this game was massive, and I don't think it was talked about enough with what it might mean for Jack Leach going forward. Overall, he bowled okay. 2 wickets in the first innings in 35 overs for 144 and over. Second innings, figures-wise, it was okay, I suppose, in the end, considering he was going at 5s and plus 1 for 86 off 24, so 3.5. But I just wasn't particularly impressed with the way he was bowling. He wasn't bowling with any sort of flight. It was pretty negative. It was the sort of stuff that people bowl in nets that get when people are smacking you. It's just darts. It's flat. It's under the eyes and flat. Yeah, just it didn't. There's no attacking intent with it. I don't know if he's under instructions, but I wouldn't want to be bowling that negatively in what could be a last Test match. I'm not saying it will be.
There was an interesting stat from CricViz, which actually pointed out that since he started Test cricket to where he's at now, he actually bowls shorter now than what he's ever done. And quicker now than what he's ever done. He was bowling like 55, 57k. And it was just really defensive the whole time. And don't get me wrong, they've scored 553. But I've come away from watching Jack Leach quite a lot and going, he did not look like taking wickets. He averages over 53 in the first innings of the Test match. He averages about 20 in the fourth innings. But throughout, he bowled too short. They went onto the back foot and they pushed him round. Everything that Kevin Peterson said people do to Matt Parkinson because he bowled too slow, well, Jack Leach was bowling the wrong length, bowling at that speed because they had the same amount of time just to go on the back foot, completely unfazed by any type of spin movement that might be going on or drift. And that was the other thing. CricViz pointed out that he's not getting any drift. Michael Bracewell spanned the ball more and got more drift. And he's a third string spinner for England behind for New Zealand behind Ajaz Patel and Mitch Santner, who doesn't spin the ball. I've come away on the only negative, well, not the only negative. We'll talk about England's batting at the top in the sec, but the only negative with the bowling for me was Leach. I came away unimpressed with his performance.
Yeah, I think all three seamers bowled pretty well in difficult conditions. It was it was favouring the batters, wasn't it? Opportunities weren't taken. Bowlers did okay. They did their jobs to a degree in the first innings. Second innings, I thought the seamers bowled much better. But yeah, I do share that with Leach. England, in response though, it was great to see Alex Lees get his first 50 for England. He's not had the easy start, but he just seems a more fluid version. I was talking about this today at the game. I remember first seeing Alex Lees when he was about 19, 20, playing for Yorkshire against Notts at Trent Bridge in a T20, and he looked magnificent. He looked attacking, fluent, and he just looked a proper player. This new setup, it's all about being positive, and it just feels like certain players like Alex Lees are responding well to the new hierarchy rather than
looks a
what he was
player,
doing.
Doesn't he?
He's
full of beans at the crease. He puts away the bad ball. He's looking to score runs, not just survive. And we've seen for too long England openers just trying to survive. Like it feels like it's been 4 or 5 years of watching people just dog it out.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. His partner as well, Zach Crawley, he's had a rough test match, hasn't he? He only lasted 6 balls in the first innings, and he didn't last many more. Actually, only last 4, 2 less in the second innings. We need to get onto him in a. Yeah, he got a couple of good balls, to be fair to him, I think. But we need to talk about him in a minute. Before we go anywhere, I think he's definitely staying in the team for the third test. Let's get that out of the way now. But we do need to have a little conversation about Zach. But then it was Ollie Pope and Joe Root, wasn't it? Pope, 145, second 100 for England. Jeez, he needed that, didn't he?
Yeah. Oh, mate.
He really did.
What a knock. What a knock.
Superb.
And there was a substantial change about how he went about his business. You could see in his setup, he's setting up to give himself access to the offside, whereas before we saw him batting off or outside off and then playing at the 6th ball. What he was actually doing was restricting scoring in that area where he's so strong through cover and so strong through cutting the ball. And we saw him cover drive, and we saw him cut the ball for days. And the other thing, and I think it's probably even more prevalent, was he actually left the ball. He made good decision-making throughout. He left 27% of deliveries that he faced. CricViz informs us that that's the most that he's ever left, including county championship cricket. That is the most he's ever left. The previous most amount of balls that he'd left was 15%. So he's a bad on ball, contact sort of hitter. And here we saw a much more mature innings. And then it changed the game because he's not playing at balls at 5th and 6th stump. They're having to bowl into him. He's completely changed the approach and taken control of the situation. And he was brilliant. Like everyone was raving on Twitter and WhatsApp, and everyone's just looking at it going, wow, this guy. But this is what you want to see. This is what everyone's seen in county championship cricket for so long, and now you've seen it. And he spoke really well in the interview after he scored all these runs, just saying it's all about trying to give himself the best opportunity possible. And actually, Joe Root was the catalyst behind some of the changes that he was making around his setup. And he kind of pushed it towards him, saying, "Hey, thanks, Joe. I kind of owe this to you, mate. You've done a lot of work for me."
Yeah, absolutely. That's great to hear, isn't it? Superb. It's nice. It's so nice to see that he can potentially be that number 3. That's the key, isn't it? That was a huge question mark of whether we should bat there. We spoke about whether Root should be there, and does it open up a question mark of whether Harry Brook should have been in ahead of him? Well, forget it now. Forget that conversation for a little while. There's no gaps in this middle order at the moment.
Yeah,
zero
gaps. Everything, everything we said, like England won a test match at Lords. We've got holes at 1, 2, 3, 5. Well, they're walking around with polyfiller just going, gone.
Well,
we've got no holes.
Yeah, Jonny Bairstow. I mean, obviously he's had a good 6-12 months, so he wasn't someone at threat, but he didn't have he's not had the greatest start recently. You're starting to wonder. He needs to score. And not only did he give us a score in the second innings, it was a career-defining score, wasn't it? So, Pope's done fantastically well at 3. Bairstow's done brilliantly at 5. Root, 176 batting at 4. He just looked like he was enjoying his cricket. He batted that whole innings as if this game is so simple, so straightforward. It's just easy. He's just enjoying himself. There's a smile on his face at all times. I loved this innings from Joe Root. It was so disappointing. It kind of picks up where I joined the thing. Well, actually, no, we'll go through first because Stokes obviously wasn't it as well. Stokes came in and just tried to smash the lever off the ball, 46-33. Nearly got caught off Bracewell in the deep, smacked one down the ground, and then did get caught off Bracewell in the
Stokes
deep.
was like your middle linebacker in a game of American football, first play of the game, where you want to absolutely lay someone out and set the tone. Stokes is the heartbeat of this team, and he came out tracking the seamers straight off the bat, sticking them back over the head, and everyone's like, "This England team, this has changed a lot over the last couple of weeks. Personnel's not changed, Rich. Personnel's the same." In the words of, it felt like I was going down a Justin Langer route then. There's a great clip of Justin Langer going, "We can talk about banter. We can all do banter." Actually, you can talk about performance and confidence, and it's the same personnel, and they're just going out there and they're performing freely.
Yeah, it's amazing what a different outlook takes, isn't it? My football team, Nottingham Forest, started the season, same squad, first 6 games, bottom of the table. We then get promoted. Different manager, different outlook. Giving people confidence, allowing them to express themselves and be positive. It's amazing what it does in sport. There is so much talent out there, but it's just untapped because of how badly sometimes teams are coached and managed. Stokes was exceptional. He just probably went too soon, too hard. It wasn't necessary. England were closing in, weren't they, on that first innings score. 405 was the score at the time, obviously in response to that 553. It was great to see, but it just wasn't quite necessary, I think, at the time. As much as we loved Ben Stokes and we loved that little knock, maybe he could have just picked that one. The way, he mistimed the one before, didn't he? Where he nearly caught, and then he hit the one straight, and it's like, okay, straight, that's where I need to hit. And then the next ball, he gets the sweep slog out again, and he does get caught. But we're not going to dwell on that because he's had an incredible test match as well. But it's worth noting, it was one of those, isn't it? Let's not pretend that it was a perfect, every single moment of this test match was perfect from everybody in an England shirt. There were moments that maybe we just need to find that little balance of what we're going to do in this new era of positive cricket. But it was really, really fun.
Ben Folkes, Rich, your fave.
Yeah,
another really, really
solid.
Good, classy knock.
Yeah, really, really solid test match for Folkes. It was funny as well, wasn't it? The evening of day 3, as we were moving towards New Zealand's total, Folkes was very watchful. He was very just restrained, wasn't he, while Root was moving things around. But at the start of day 4, he came off flying. I think he hit 3 4s in no time whatsoever to get himself moving. Root was looking good again, wasn't he? He got the reverse the reverse ramp out off Tim Southey for 6 in a test match on the morning of a day 4. It was insane. It was ridiculous. I don't know what's going on with test match cricket. It's amazing. We've always loved it. You can only love it even more after this.
Don't you think Folkes was just good game management? Like really superb, mature batting.
He wanted to make sure he was there.
Start of the next day, we're still in control of this. But if I'm out, we could get blown away at the start of the next day.
Yeah, absolutely. He wanted to be there, didn't he? And it was so important. Day 5 has been magical, incredible, unbelievable, all those words. Day 4 was the pivotal day of this test match.
Yeah,
England needed to get somewhere near. And on that morning, I think it was about 80 behind, wasn't we? As we started day 4. We worked away closer and closer and closer. And I think in the end, it was about 14-run lead for England going in. It would have been nicer. Sorry, 14-run deficit. Apologies. It would have been nicer to have got a bit closer. But once Root went, Folkes got a bit bogged down batting with that pretty ordinary tail that England do have at the moment. Broady came and went relatively short. Potts hasn't shown that he can bat at this level yet, and we know, I'm sure, he can be a much better player, as he has shown for Durham on occasion. Leach didn't really have the opportunity. We saw a couple of sweeps from Anderson, and that was it, wasn't it? 539, as we said, a 14-run lead for New Zealand going into the second innings. At that point, you're looking at the game and you're thinking, certainly what I was thinking, and I'll put it to you, I was thinking 250. If we can bowl New Zealand out with about a 250 lead, this is absolutely game on. I think this setup's going to go anyway, but we don't know. We just need to get them down. We don't want to, be 3 or 4 down at the close of play. We need them 6, 7, 8 down. And that's exactly how things ended, wasn't it? What New Zealand went in, and England we looked good. I mean, Latham leaving a Jimmy Anderson one. I think Mark Butcher's commentary was there are some good leaves and some bad leaves. That was a bad leave. It was middle and off.
Direct down the middle, eh? Like, it's either good or bad. You're bowled or you're not out. There's no in between.
Yeah, exactly. So for me, I thought England the response, an England team a few years ago chasing 5-5-3 could have been 200 all out, follow on, all out again, have lost by an innings. The fact that this team just didn't seem to phase them, did it? It was a damn good pitch to bat on, and they made the most of it, and they got very, very close, didn't they? And then they got got into them. It was a really good counter though. Devon Conway and Will Young, they really dug in. Both got half centuries. We get the run out of Will Young completely out of the blue, wasn't it? For that
was
one, unnecessary
moment in the game for the Blackcaps.
It really was. It was so bizarre. You're watching it. It's just didn't. I can't even get the words out to say it. I just don't understand what went on with that one. And it was very quickly afterwards, wasn't it? We got the wicket of Conway went first. Then we got the wicket of the run out. But those coming so close together just completely rattled, I think, New Zealand at that point. They were so settled, even though England were pushing and bowling really, really well at that point.
Yep. I thought England, and this is what happens with positivity and relentlessness, and I feel like England's they've shown they've got a little bit of that relentlessness, and it creates moments like Will Young's run out, because he was batting the best he's batted in Test match probably this year, because he wasn't great against South Africa. And Conway was timing the pants off it. He was in incredible form. He was in Lord's 2021 form. But it's just good bowling. I thought Anderson's set up to Latham was really, really good. And it's hard to tell what's genuine or not, whether it was the wobble seam that came back in. But the seam, to me, when I watched it, was looking like an away swinger, and Latham just went, shoulder arm stumps on the floor, mate. Yeah. I just thought it was really good bowling. I thought Broad was good in periods. Potts, not as good as the first test, but it's hard to be when you've taken all those wickets and you're in a game where 1,000 runs are on the board. But what I did like, again, was relentlessness. Every time he came in, it was 100%, hitting the deck hard, trying to do something with it. I thought he bowled well in periods. But, again, we talked before we came on air about how many boundaries there's been. This kind of throws me back to 2005 and watching Trescothick and Michael Vaughan and KP and players like that taking it to the opposition. Bad balls go. And, I think another testament needs to go to Steve Burke. I want to say it's Steve Burke's, not Heads groundsman, on one excellent wicket. Really excellent wicket. Like 5 days of this has been superb. But also, what a good outfield. How fast was that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the track itself, people misunderstand what a Trent Bridge track is. They think it's this green seamer. Sometimes on the first day, it looks a bit green. It's not what it looks like. Stop being tricked into thinking you want to have a bowl on it. It's been a sensational facility. Trent Bridge has been awesome, full stop, hasn't it, over 5 days, as it was today as well, which we'll give it its due before we're done with this conversation. I mean, just looking at the response, you kind of just jumbled in my mind a little bit. Obviously, Conway was the first wicket, wasn't he? That one off Leach. Yeah. I did not understand why Leach was still bowling. Stokes over bowled Leach in the second innings. He just kept bowling.
Was Anderson injured, or did Anderson pick up a niggle?
Anderson bowled briefly this morning. He bowled the last 4 deliveries. 0.4. So he was just 1 over basically. He was bowling. He only, overnight he'd only bowled 8 overs. So I don't know what was going on with him at all. Not heard anything to do with that at all. But New Zealand, they were going so well, weren't they? 104 for 1. Then Conway goes with that pretty good catch from Bairstow. Leach gets himself a reward. The 1 wicket that he did get in that one. Nichols comes and goes very quickly. Potts gets him cutting. Potts might not have been as impressive because I don't think he was quite as threatening as in the first test. But this spell in the second innings was superb. It was economical. I think he'd gone for 12 runs off 10 overs at one point. He was really, really asking questions. And I thought he bowled really, really well. He was good value.
Do you think New Zealand's game plan, like we talked about Ben Folkes' game management, do you think New Zealand got their game management wrong here? Like Michael Bracewell came in at 1,000,000 miles an hour and got himself out, exposed the tail. I know they're trying to force the victory. That's the way the Kiwis play. It's almost win-lose cricket. But I felt they overexposed the tail at the wrong time of the game, and England picked up all these wickets late in day 4, and Trent Bridge must have been buzzing at that stage.
It certainly was. Yeah, the beers were well and truly kicking in at that point from the crowd that was there. It was, like I say, Nichols went quite quickly. Then we had the farcical run out. Kudos to Pope for this one, actually. We didn't give him enough love. I think it was in the first test where he threw the stumps down from the slips. That was Pope, not Bairstow. I got it wrong. So credit to Pope in this one, and credit to Pope in this one again, because you can see him looking like he's going to throw it to the other end, and it looks like he's hesitated twice, but the first one's stopping himself, then it's double checking, and then he throws to the correct end, which is the bowler's end, and Stokes does the rest. Really, really good judgment from Pope, and he deserves the credit for it. Blundell looked okay, and at one point it did look like Mitchell and Blundell was going to just do what Mitchell and Blundell keep doing. I'm sick of, I think you have to keep saying their names together. It's just getting sick of saying it. Mitchell was steady as you like, but Blundell, once he went, it then opened up Bracewell, didn't it? Bracewell, like you said, he's come in a little bit too positive, perhaps. You don't want to be going in the close of play with your tail, with your tail on show. Nobody needs that, Rob. A little bit of decency. Come on, New Zealand. But Southey was in and out, wasn't he? We got a run out of that one as well. Catastrophic run out. I love that off Crook Info as I'm looking now. And Henry was there overnight with Mitchell. At that stage, you're thinking, what did we start with? I think we said, where were we? 238 lead going into the final day, I believe it was. And it was so finely balanced. You think that England need to get those final 3 wickets quickly, and you think that they're going to give Anderson and Broad the ball 10 overs before the new ball, but we start with Leach. And I'm confused by this one this morning. The crowd was ready. They did it, as I'm sure you've all heard, instead of £10 for the final day, Trent Bridge says we're going to have free entry, which is a fantastic thing to do. I think it was a bit of I don't think they quite anticipated how this game would be set up on the final day. They looked at ticket sales without quite considering the match situation. It was going to be a full day. I think a lot of people was going to be coming on the 5th day anyway, but it was good to make sure you can get the stadium as full as possible. My only little gripe, and I had a couple of people push back at me on Twitter, but I just thought if they'd have put it as £1, perhaps, you would have been not just sold out, but you would have been a full house today as well, because there's probably 2,000 or 3,000 seats in the stadium that weren't taken today, but the tickets were allocated last night. I didn't get one. I was lucky enough somebody else had actually got one to sort me out, but that's my only little gripe. It was fantastic to get this atmosphere going. But what you want on the morning of the 5th day, and you nearly got a full house, is Broady steaming in. And like I say, they started with Leach, and Leach was bowling just those flat balls again. He didn't get one above the eye line of the batsman, and it was just so negative, and I didn't quite understand why he started. Please explain to me.
Yeah, it was almost like a holding pattern of the game, actually.
Yes,
and
waiting for the new ball almost.
New ball, game management by England going, cool, we want Anderson and Broad with the new ball, because when they did, Broad and Anderson managed to, we kind of got through them a little bit. But yeah, it just felt like, okay, we've got 8 overs, whatever it might be. Let's assume they score 30 runs or something like that, or 40 runs, and we'll take that and we'll clean them up within the first 5 overs of the new ball. It just felt like that was the game plan that they were going to do. But it's interesting because it's obviously been such a chaotic and high energy day. From an initial standpoint, that first ball, you kind of go, you kind of just take the atmosphere out a little bit at the start.
It really did. If I was New Zealand, I would have been really happy with that first half an hour because the crowd weren't in it at all. I think Jonny Bairstow pointed, he was like, maybe everyone had a big night Monday because they were a bit quiet to begin with. I think if they'd have started with Broady, I think you would have been seeing a different atmosphere. People giving it that, as he's running into bowl. And we didn't quite have that. So I don't want to overly criticise Leach. Maybe there's a plan in there. Stokes was bowling from the other end. Stokes was bowling bombs. He was basically, there was nothing in Matt Henry's half. He was bowling short. He was bowling over the wicket short. And then the variation, Rob, not the full ball. It was round the wicket short. If you want to have a bit of a giggle, try and find some videos of Matt Henry avoiding the short ball. It's Mike Atherton against Aaron Donald. Back in the day, back in 98 or whatever it was.
There's some great ones of him kind of leaning all the way.
Jumping.
Like Robin Smith in the West Indies getting pinned.
That's it. Yeah, I think I caught a couple on video and I sent it to you, Rob, so you can have a little stick it up on TikTok or whatever you do with your time now. Your social
What you
media
do with your
time.
time. Now you've got a man bun, you're on TikTok.
No comment. Well, I can't believe we haven't mentioned that ridiculous hair at the moment. Yes. Yes. Anyway, carry on. Let's carry on this conversation before we get
Yeah.
taken on by Rob's
So
hair.
what was the feel in the stands? Like I said, I was asleep overnight, so I went to sleep when New Zealand were all out, and I saw 299, and I posted some stats about chasing. And in Test match cricket, I actually haven't got them in front of me because my phone is switched off. But there was about 146 times, give or take one or two, that England have chased 300 or more in Test cricket. And I know this is 299, but you're as close as you're going to get. 4 times we have ever chased down 300, which equates to 2%. And we go and do something like that, chasing 299, which puts you in the 2% club, Rich. That's a pretty elite club to be there for the day.
It's like we said at the top, this doesn't happen very often in Test cricket. I mean, Test cricket has changed because of T20, white ball cricket, etc., etc. It's an ever-changing game, and the way this new setup, this McCullum and Stokes setup has already come in, this mentality, it is changing. This is going to be a hell of a ride. I think that's the first way to put it. I think when we got them all out, I think you looked around and there was a buzz, there was an expectation, at the very least, that England are going for it. Because last summer, let's be honest, we thought they were going to go for some of these scores, and it was that old, let's see how we go for a bit, and maybe we'll chase it. And no, we're just going to have a long net.
2.5, 3 and over that was required, right?
Yeah, exactly. So all the same arguments they used last summer have been completely thrown and blown out the water for this one. Just to wrap up their innings as well, though, I've got to say, a couple of very good catches from folks. One in particular, I think it was the Matt Henry one, off Stuart Broad. Broady comes steaming in. He wanted to make an impact. He got himself 3 wickets in the innings, didn't he? And then Anderson came in. Like I say, he didn't bowl much on the 4th day. He didn't come back on for a second spell on the 4th day, and then he didn't bowl until right at the end, and he got the last wicket. He only bowled 4 balls to wrap up the New Zealand innings. Really impressed. The effort of Stokes was incredible. Potts, like I say, was very economical. Broady kept running in. Not sure what was going on with Anderson. Leach, we've spoken about at length. I don't think we need to talk about it anymore. It was good to see Jamieson coming as bat as well this morning, because obviously he's had a back injury. Sounds like he could be an English bowler, back injury.
Yeah, he's out as well. 3rd test, he's gone.
Yeah. Well, it was interesting because someone around the ground this morning was saying, he's going to be fine. He batted, didn't last very long, and then he was 12th man in at the start of the innings. But he didn't actually, obviously, wasn't fit to bowl, but he was fit to run around carrying drinks. So it's a big disappointment because he's such an interesting player to watch. But the response, obviously, the expectation was there. And when Alex Lees hits the first 2 balls of the innings for 4, he then dots 1. And then he hits the 4th ball of the innings for 4, 12 for none or 4 deliveries.
Yeah.
It's on. It's properly on. But then not long after, a certain Mr. Crawley does nick off. 12 for 1 sounds like we've been batting for a while, but it was 1.4 overs. He's gone 4
What did that do? Like, you're there watching him live. Like, it's virtually the same ball as the first innings.
Yeah.
He's nicked off. You can look through technique. You can actually look at it and say it's a decent nut first up. But Zach Crawley now finds himself in pretty elite category. Out of every England opener that's played, he's got a quack. For those listening on the podcast, Zach, which has lifted up a glass that says quack on it. Crawley's batted 15 Test matches. So every England opener that's batted 15 Test matches as an opener, he now averages 23.13, which is the 2nd worst out of 35 people that's ever done it, with only Mike Brearley, Captain Fantastic, averaging 23.02. Now, McCullum was famous after the Cape Town fiasco for picking the right guys and just sticking with them. They're going to get it. Zach Crawley, is he going to get it?
Oh, geez. I mean, it depends.
It is.
Yeah, he might get it, but he might not get it. I think I have more patience and more understanding for openers when they've gone for ducks than I do if they've nicked off for 10 or 12.
Yeah, that's fair.
I think he's got a good one early. It's simple as that. Trent Boult was superb in this Test match. He took 8 wickets. He was by far the best bowler in this Test match, far the most threatening bowler. I think Henry bowled well in the first innings for New Zealand, showed some good pace. But overall, in both innings, Boult was head and shoulders above anybody else, I think, with the ball. Maybe one or two others did pretty well. But it didn't really take much of the air out because Lees had already hit the ground running. We were already crunching it from the other end, so it was almost like, that's fine, right, just get Lees back on strike. So it
Lees
didn't really
was
take much out of it.
pumping it. He reminded me of Trescothick 2005.
Yes.
You remember Edgbaston, where England scored 400 in a day on the first day? McGraw went down injured. It had shades of that, where any width, he was just so good. And or as
very controlled as well.
Who's the Ian Ward? Ian Ward said he ramrodded it down the ground with a straight bat. As soon as he said ramrodded, I'm like, I need to record this and I need to do something with it because he's ramrodded the ball with a straight bat.
Oh my word, Ian Ward, choose your words more carefully. I think Ollie Pope coming in as well on the back of his, marvellous first innings score kept things alive, didn't it? But this is the thing though, Pope went, then Root went, caught and bowl, trying to work one in. Root is seeing the ball so well and so early that I think he's just deciding what to play, and he's playing the shot a fraction early on occasion as well. And that's what he did. He got, you could say, Rob, a leading edge.
He did get a leading edge. We need to clip that in.
Yes, exactly. I love how many times commentators talk about leading edges. It's amazing how many wickets are
It's like they almost have they have no idea who we are. But maybe one day they might go, oh, they did cricket podcast.
Yeah, exactly. So at that point, 56 for 3, I'm starting to get a little bit concerned. But Lees is going well. Bairstow's come in, and Bairstow is looking pretty good. All right, isn't he? Lees goes at 93 for 4. This is the point when I am concerned, because I'm thinking if 2 more wickets and it's game over for England, you either drop anchor or we're going to be all out, because that tail won't last long. And if that tail has to bat 20 overs, Broady's not like that style. Potts doesn't look like he can last more than a few overs at the moment. And Jimmy and Leachy will do what they can do. But if they both get a good ball with the name on, it's not going to be long, is it? So it was so important that obviously Stokes comes in, and him and Bairstow bat through to get us close, wasn't it? And then folks can come in closer on to do what he needed to do. We didn't have to worry for anything, did we? We go to tea, pretty steady. And then after tea, I think 3 overs after tea.
139 for 4. 139 for 4 off 34 overs at tea.
Yeah, and then 3 overs later, 43 runs have been added. That gives you a sign of what was going on. It was carnage. It was beautiful. The hitting was fantastic. Bairstow got to his 50. Was it 51 ball 50, wasn't it? 51?
Yeah, he was.
Something like that.
I took a picture at one point. It was 52 off 52.
Yeah.
And England scored 102 runs off the first 9 overs after tea.
Yeah. And then
109.
Yeah. So 52 balls. So it was 25 balls for his second 50.
Yeah.
Basically, he was just smacking it. I love the fact Ben Stokes after the game was talking that Jonny Bairstow had Johnny eyes.
Yes.
And when he's got Johnny eyes, that means he's on for it. He's going to go, just get out of his way and keep hitting. They were going short to Bairstow. That wasn't a good idea.
That felt like a real mistake. Like, we've talked about mistakes from the Blackcaps throughout, because it's easy to do, but when the team's gone and lost. But it's a ground that's coming on really well. And you're bowling short to the shortest boundary in the ground. That it used to be called the par stand. I don't know what it's called these days. Down that side, that is so short. Like, it's probably 60 meters short, and the ball was disappearing halfway up the stand. And I got the KP reference because I've got to get one in every single time. There was shades to KP Brett Lee, different situation, different speed of bowling. And Bairstow came out basically got this kind of do or die situation, and I'm just going to belt it. And even when it wasn't that short, he still belted it, and it still ended up in the stands. It was brutal. It was magical. It was. I think CricViz says that it's the most attacking shot percentage of anyone since 2006.
Yeah.
On their database, and England attacked 35% of the shots this series, and no team since 2006 in their database has attacked more percentage of shots.
I like it.
And you talk about shift of mentality, and this game situation, chasing 300 is built for people like Bairstow. Bairstow batting on day one with it nipping round everywhere is not a game situation built for Bairstow where he gets cleaned up. Chasing 300 and going, Johnny, you're one of about 5 players in the world that averages over 40 in one-day international cricket and a strike rate of 100. Go do your thing. But he played aggressively, but he played the match situation. He got through to tea, and he didn't get through to tea at the same rate that he went on to. He was scoring like 70 strike rate, but he was putting away the bad ball, not making stuff happen. But then he chose to make stuff happen when they were chasing 160 in that last session.
Yeah, I'll be honest, it surprised me a little bit when we were suddenly clapping for his 50. It was like, Bairstow's on 50.
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't realise.
He got
just
there
worked
without much fanfare.
Yeah, there wasn't many big shots, wasn't it? He was positive. He put the ball away when he needed to, but he was rotating quite well. Really, really just running well, just being really sensible. Just a really, really positive innings. And then positive doesn't always mean smacking the ball out of the ground, as we spoke about quite a lot. So it was sensational, wasn't it? He gets there to 77, second fastest 100 ever by an Englishman. We keep saying it. These innings don't happen very often. You've mentioned Kevin Peterson. I'll mention Kevin Peterson. In 2005, people remember these innings. Ben Stokes, a few summers ago, was it 2019?
Yeah.
That innings that he took, put England on his back and took them home. We've seen these innings over the year. I'm sure there's one or two that you could throw in as well. That you just get, the Bairstow innings of 2022, the KP innings of 2005. This will be forever attached to Jonny Bairstow. This was stunning. This was just the one of the finest knocks I've ever seen. The ball before he got out, I just turned to someone sat next to me and just went, he can't miss. He'd hit one and then he worked one straight through two people. You could have had another four people in that area and he'd still found a way to get it through. He did then feather one off next ball. So I did then say, well, he can miss. So,
he did still hit it. It's incredible. Bairstow, since he's come back, Rich, against Australia, and even before this, right, he scored 100 in Australia. He scored 100 in the West Indies. So he had 2 centuries from the last 4 Test matches since his recall. He's played 2 Test matches against New Zealand, and there was talk of Harry Brook coming in over him. So he scored 3 centuries now this year in 6 Test matches. He's averaging 47.25 since he came back into the team against Australia. He scored 3 centuries this year. The last time he scored 3 centuries was 2016, when he played 17 Test matches and he scored 1,470 runs before he fell out of a bit of form and got misused quite a bit. So essentially, he scored as many centuries in the last 6 Test matches as he's done in the last 5 years.
Yeah,
you can't take him out. Like, I know we wanted Harry Brook in. Even before the series, we wanted to see Harry Brooks. Harry Brooks in such good form. But retrospectively, looking at it, Bairstow stood up in Australia when no one else was.
Yeah.
So did Zach Crawley, but Bairstow did more so. And then he went and scored a ton in the West Indies. He's pretty good, Johnny. We talk about his sneaky under-the-radar 85 Test match career, but it's almost a Test match career that has got this amazing peak 2016 era, and then in and out, in and out, in and out, and then we've got the second coming of more mature Jonny Bairstow.
There's just not enough words to describe that innings today. I hope everyone's seen it. If you haven't, just please make an effort to just go and find it. Go and watch the highlights, Test match, BBC highlights, whatever it might be on YouTube. Wherever, go and watch this innings. It was stunning. I think Stokes was saying that they didn't really talk much when they was on the field, but the one thing he did say to him was when they were starting to bowl short at him, Stokes just said, whatever you do not try and get the ball on the ground, keep hitting it in the stands. Yeah. Firstly, I love that from a captain to tell you that. It's like, yeah, great, I can't lose here. If I get caught on the boundary, I've got an excuse. But it was the right thing as well. And it was just so good that Bairstow just kept going, didn't he? Kept taking his chances. There was a couple of those boundaries where one, it looked like the bat nearly came out of his hands and it still went for 6. And then a few balls later, or it might have even been the ball later, he's finished the ball, over to the leg side boundary for 4 with one hand on the bat.
Yeah.
Just the power that man gets out of the ball is unbelievable. At the other end, Ben Stokes is struggling because he's got a bit of a knee issue. It's an long time ago knee issue from an operation, he was saying. Not something it seems like we need to be concerned about at all. He'll be fine. He's always fine, isn't he? Ben Stokes. He's always fine after these niggles. And he went at 75 off 70 deliveries. Bairstow was 136 off 92 in the end, 147 strike rate, 7 sixes, 14 boundaries for him before he feathered one behind off.
Can I say the phrase again? Say the phrase. Game management. He attacked. When Bairstow got out, he finished. He completely reined himself back in, and he's like, I'm captain, I'm going to be here at the end. And how perfect was it? The shot that he finished the game with was the exact same shot that he finished the 2019 game against Australia with. Back foot cut shot to the boundary, bat in the air. It was perfect.
It really was. I mean, Ben Stokes was superb today. He really was. Some of those strikes down the ground were incredible. Like in the first innings,
top tier Radcliffe.
Just going to get to that one, mate. That was at the end. So I'm sat in the Radcliffe Road lower on the front row today. And that ball, as he hit it, I just stood up straight away and went, massive. That's massive. And it just went sailing and sailing. And it went to, so you've got Radcliffe Road lower, then you've got some boxes, then you've got the overhang of what you'd sort of say the middle, and then you've got the bit, a tier above that. It almost looks like it's one tier at the top, but it hit the back of the middle, if that makes sense. So in the upper tier, but almost to the very, very back. It's one of the biggest balls I've ever seen hit at Trent Bridge. It was ridiculous.
You know when the batsman knows it's a good hit when they go, and they do a little giggle. The biggest six I ever saw at
Bracewell was
Bridge,
smiling as well.
the biggest six I ever saw at Trent Bridge was Daryl Cullinan. If anyone can roll back the years to South African Daryl Cullinan, he played for Derbyshire. My dad took me down to I can't even remember the name of the competition. It was the 50-over competition, but it was in the early 90s, maybe about 93, 94. And he hit one over the Radcliffe Road. But I don't know the size dimensions to know if this is bigger, because the Radcliffe Road got redeveloped sometime in the early 2000s, I think it was. So it'd be interesting to know if it was bigger than that. Because I remember I was a kid and watched it sail over just going, I've never seen anything like this.
No. From my memory of that stand, this was way bigger today.
Yeah, it was hard as well. He hit that really hard. It was speed off the bat. It wasn't super high, like 60-degree trajectory. It was just like straight in.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was so nice as well. Folks came in, didn't he, after the incredible innings of Bairstow did come to an end. On the back of his second 50 that he racked up in this game. He's got 102 50s. It's just worth remembering. He's looking good. He got himself a nice little not out, didn't he, in the end for this one? I think was it 12 not out for him in this game. I'm just having a quick look. Yes, it is. And Stokes, like I say, was unbeaten on 75 in the end, and it was so fitting that it was Stokes that did hit the winning runs. Just a stunning day. Blue skies, a little bit of cloud cover today, but a blue sky, sunny day at Trent Bridge. It's been just an unbelievable 5 days of Test cricket there. Trent Bridge has hosted brilliantly. You've already given kudos to the ground staff, the outfield, the track, everything. The whole occasion was just sensational. It's one of the best Test matches there's been. New Zealand, maybe because it's New Zealand, it won't be as memorable in some ways. It's not an Ashes series. It's not a whatever. But this needs to go down as one of the best Test matches. It was building and building. The most runs ever in a Test match at Trent Bridge, the most boundaries ever in a Test match ever anywhere. 250 boundaries in the game, Rob. 226 fours, 24 sixes, and the highest successful chase ever at Trent Bridge. Trent Bolt now the number one scoring number 11 batsman.
Jimmy 650.
Yeah, 650 Test wickets for Jimmy. Joe Root's now rapidly climbing that list after getting 10,000 Test runs. He's already gone past a couple of people. He's coming for you, Tendulkar. And it was quite notable as well as I was driving away from the ground that there was a Test match we're talking. We chased 299 in 50 overs. Yeah. England are a 50 over the world champions still against New Zealand.
We're proper 50 over material.
It was a 50 over chase. It was just superb.
It does go up there. There's been some great run chases in England history. The one in Pakistan with Nasser running off with the stumps. Mark Butcher in the 2001 Ashes where he got 170 at Headingley, I want to say. Stokes at Headingley. Yeah. And then this is up there. These are things that don't happen. We were very lucky. Can you remember we were doing the podcast in 2019? Stokes played that amazing innings. And then I want to say it was Kusal Mendes did the same, but better in South Africa. And it went under the radar because it wasn't one of the big teams. And he scored 150, chasing 300 odd in South Africa. One of the greatest knocks, but went so under the radar because Stokes had just done it in the Ashes. So this is what Test cricket's brilliant because it's the ebbs and flows. You see ebbs and flows when 200 plays 200, 300 plays 300. Here you've seen ebbs and flows when 500 plays 500. And it's incredible. New Zealand score 550. There's no way over the course of the last 2 or 3 years that England go and win this game. Absolute none. And they've gone and do it. One more thing I want to say, 2 more things I want to say on Jonny Bairstow, because Jonny Bairstow time. Highest attacking shot percentage, lowest false shot percentage ever since 2006 is what CricViz have said. I've got my stats right. Also, he spoke so well after the game. One about cheese toasties and coffee, but also rather than talking about, he got asked a question about the mentality of the group. he took it back and spoke around Silverwood and Root and how hard that was for everyone involved. And I really like that. He wasn't all jumping over the bandwagon. It's actually, no, we've played some good cricket. We've just had a really hard time in a really hard environment. And now we're starting to shine. So, class. It came across really, really classy.
He really did. I was just listening to it earlier, just before we came on, just from the highlights, talking to BBC. And I've just turned around and was like, he doesn't sound like a player that's just finished the game and just done what he's done. He sounds like a pundit. He spoke so well. And we don't get to hear Jonny Bairstow enough, I don't think. He's quite a quiet, in some ways, he's quite a quiet guy, but I don't think he is as a person. But in the media, we don't see enough of him. I mean, it's just been a stunning game, isn't it? I just think that's what we have to say. I think it's right that he gives credit to Silverwood and Root and how difficult that period of time was. But the fact still remains that probably wasn't the correct formation of setup. And it probably wasn't the right personnel. Root had come to the end of his time. It was a natural time for a captain to step aside. Root is playing like a born-again batsman. First test, he just came out and said, I just love batting. He's just a kid again. It's simple as that. He could go on forever the way he's looking at
Was it Bairstow or someone said, Joe Root's back to being himself. He's going around sniffing people's socks in the dressing room. And I'm like, that reminds me of playing in cricket dressing rooms, just doing daft stuff.
Yeah, I'm not a captain anymore. I don't have to be serious all the time. So love it. And we'll just see what's going to happen with this setup. The third test is coming up, Rob. We do have a little bit of other England cricket in between, though. It's quite a weird formation. We're now basically putting the test side. They're over here, and we've got a one-day side. We're not going to go into it now, but we're coming up Friday the 17th, Sunday the 19th, and Wednesday the 22nd. We have 3 ODIs over in the Netherlands, England against Netherlands. Can't wait. I'm going to be there for the third one. We're going to talk about it in advance of that, hopefully, as well. But then the very next day, the 23rd of June, the day after that third Netherlands ODI, the third and final test gets underway, Rob, at Headingley, Leeds. So England obviously have won the series. One test to play. New Zealand are in a little bit of a mess. Where do they turn? Jamieson, you imagine he's going to be going the same way of de Grandhomme. Do they give Racinda, you get his name for me, who's just gone and hit nearly 200 for Durham? Where do they go?
Maybe. I think that Kane Williamson's back next test match. Let's start with that. But you do need to find another bowler. I think Neil Wagner's the guy that you go to. And it's at Headingley, do you play a spinner? Do you not? I need to look into the stats more of who's done well there over the last few years to say, but they definitely need something. Tim Southey was as bad as what I've seen him without being horrendous, but he bowled a lot of, I know there's a lot of boundaries. He bowled a lot of 4 balls and didn't look very effective at times, whereas Henry bowled some good spells, to be fair.
Yeah, I was quite impressed with Henry. Henry, as well, I've got to give credit to him. He was fantastic. He was fielding in front of us and he was getting some grief by some meatheads around us as well. He was awesome throughout the day, signing stuff for people, being really cool, giving a little kid a nook. He was just seemed a really nice guy. I like him as a player. Bolt was sensational. Southey, it always pains me because I love Southey as a cricketer, but he did bowl too many 4 balls. But it was just one of them games. If you're a bowler that likes to bowl a full length, this was not the test match for you. Sorry about that.
We'll be back. Yes. We've got, Rich, we've got County Championship going on at the moment. So we're going to be back for tomorrow. We'll be back for the one-day international preview. And like you're saying, then we're cracking into third test time. So heaps of good cricket going on. Vitality Blast is smashing through it at the moment as well. So thank you so much for listening, everyone. Yeah. Rich has enjoyed 2 fantastic days in the sunshine at Trent Bridge. Thanks to Knots. Thanks to look at the tan. Look at the Pink tan. That's proper English t-shirt tan. It's 23 degrees. I'm getting
Thank you to the lovely person sat behind me that had some Factor 50 because I'd forgot my sun lotion today. So I'm so pleased that person had a nice bit of Factor 50 that I could put on. I'd already started burning. Thank you.
We are available on all podcast platforms, wherever you may want to listen. So please check us out there. We're available on Twitter, always tweeting at Leading Edge Cricket Pod. We'll catch you guys next time.